All right, y'all. Part five. So his homeboy was looking out. He saw him going to my car. He was rummaging through the car. So his homeboy walked up to him and was like, "Yo, bro, what you doing?" He was like, "Oh, I know she got money. I know she got money. She put it in. I can't find it in the house. It got to be in the car." He was like, "What are you talking about?" So he tells him, she got her taxes and, she ain't trying to give me nothing. I don't know what else. Of course, I wasn't there for the whole conversation, obviously, because I'm asleep while he's doing this. So his homeboy was like, "Yo, what is you doing, man? Like, that's not what's up. Like, nah, man." So, of course, his homeboy told me, a couple days later, whatever, when he saw me, he told me. And I was like, "What?" He was like, "Yeah." He said, "Yo, he was in your car looking, like digging, moving stuff, doing stuff." And he was upset. And I asked him what was up. And he was like, he was looking for your money, for the money that your tax money. And I was like, "What the hell? You trying to take my money?" So he's trying to take my money so he can go, get his re-up and pretty much leave me in the dust without no money, and go about his way. So I go, and I didn't say nothing because I didn't want him to know that his homeboy came to me to tell me what he was doing. You feel me? Like, I feel like God was kind of, he was looking out for me too. So after all is said and done, that particular night, I think I was feeling real sick. I don't know if I had the flu or what was going on with me. I just was feeling really sick. This was before I started getting real ill, and I was going to pass, but that's another story for another time. So I was just getting really ill, and I was laying in the bed that night, and he was just being real distant and just real nasty to me. And come to find out, he was in a relationship with someone. So he would be on the phone and stuff with her, acting like he wasn't talking to anybody, blah blah blah. So that particular night, I was laying near. It was this particular picture that I had got from the thrift store of these. It's by Thomas Kincaid. I love Thomas Kincaid, and it was a picture, like a Christmas picture, and it had like 3 candles. But the cool part is the picture lit up, so the flames on the candles were lit, and it had like twinkly stars. So I would just love to like just watch it and look at it. So as I'm laying in the bed and I'm just looking at it, and he was on the other side, and he just looked at me in disgust and rolled his eyes and just snatched the blanket and wrapped himself up in the blanket. So I just laid there. I was just like, whatever, man. And I knew that was going to be the last time I was going to see him, because I knew I had my tax money, and I knew, I had made some arrangements and stuff, and for me and my son. And I was already packing, slowly packing, washing clothes, folding them up. And I was looking at a couple things in my house that I wanted to bring with me, but everything else I was leaving because I knew I wasn't turning back. So I prayed that night and I said, "God, please, angels, please keep him asleep, because he don't sleep. He never really slept. Like, he never really slept. He didn't even have a job, of course, because he was on disability, but yeah, he didn't sleep." So I prayed hard. I said, "Please keep him asleep for me. Keep him asleep long enough for me and my son to get all our stuff that we've packed and to get out." I said, "Please, Lord, please, please." So literally that night, when I tell you, on everything I love, when I tell you that when I tell you that he slept and he did not get up, I woke my son up because he had to be to school. And I said to my son, "Listen, make sure you got everything packed the night before." I told him, because I knew what I was doing the next day. And I said, "When I wake you up at 6:30, I said, just get the bags and just take everything to the car." So he was like, "Okay." So he's sleeping. I get out the bed because he's thinking I'm just going to work. He's not thinking that we leaving. He was sound asleep. So I've got the bags, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I don't want to wake him up. Because if I wake him up, he's going to know. Like, he's going to know." So my son, he's taking the stuff to the car. I'm slowly, moving the bags out the living room, packing the car up, like I'm moving, okay? So finally, it was my son. I told my son, make sure you have everything, but he left one bag in the living room. So I'm like, So I grabbed the bag, and something said, "Oh, Keisha, you forgot your picture, your favorite picture." And I was going to go back into the room, and something said, "Keisha, no, go, go." And I was like, "Ugh." So I grabbed the bag, and then I quietly closed the front door to the apartment, and I ran to the car, put everything in the car, made sure my son was in the car, and I was like, "Yo, we out." February 17th, we was out. February 17th of 2023, we was out. It was like 7 in the morning. And of course, the neighbors, you in the hood, everybody watching and stuff. I got in the car and I drove off, and I was like, oh my gosh. Thank you. Drove off, dropped my son to school, met up with one of my friends, my dear friends, and I was moving stuff into her basement, and I hit her up with like 2 G's. I was like, here's 2 G's, just I'm paying up a couple months. I just got this other job. Thank you so much. So we had to stay in a hotel prior to that because she was trying to get the it's like a mother-in-law suite. It's very small. She was just trying to make sure everything was right before me and my son came. So me and my son had to stay at the hotel for a couple days. And then once we stayed there for about a week, it was so nice. I had to block his calls. I had to change my phone number. Yeah, he was freaking out, flipping out. And I just was so grateful, and I just was thanking God, thank you so much for keeping him asleep, man, because if he would have woke up, we wouldn't have got out of the house. His temperaments, on a bad day, on a good day, music playing, he cooking, you know what I mean? He's actually cleaning and doing stuff. But on a bad day, listen. So, yeah. I remember one particular day, he was going to nail the front door shut. He was like, "You ain't going nowhere. You ain't going nowhere. You mine. You mine." And I was just like, oh my gosh. What the hell? Listen, a whole demon. A whole demon. He was a whole demon. He did not have control of his body. He didn't have control of his mind. Yo, he was a whole demon, okay? Listen, nobody can tell me different. And I'm sitting there, and that was one particular day. I was folding up laundry, and I just was crying. And then he took my wallet. I had 25 cents in my wallet. He took it and started laughing. I said, "You gonna take my last quarter, man? For real?" I bet. So I'm crying. I'm still folding up clothes. This is before, we left and all that. But yeah, I'm folding up clothes oh my God, it can't come fast enough. This can't come fast enough. So long story short, staying in that hotel and then moving into that place with my homegirl, I just was thanking her husband, because they was just a lifesaver. And I tell you, there was nowhere else that I could go. My ex-best friend, she had a whole man, and so, she's like, "Oh, he don't want nobody living here." She was like, "But I'll take your son. Your son could stay here, but you can't stay here." And she's like, "Oh, you said you was gonna go to a shelter and this, that, and the third." And I'm just sitting there looking at her like, wow. Anywho, that's another story for another time. So yeah, we got out, and after that, he knew where we was, but I think that he was happy that he had the apartment to himself. That way he could have his parties, and he could, do what he wanted. So he wasn't really per se on top of me like that, But, gotta come back to you, because it's about to cut off again. Bear with me. This will be in my book that I'm writing, so at least when you read in the book, you don't have to get no breaks. But just bear with me, Divine Masculines and Divine Feminines. I'll be right back.